Hello yarn friends, it's Morgan with Dream9 Design. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button so you get notified when I release new videos. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make these easy hair scrunchies on the Addi knitting machine. Now these specific ones I did 15 rows, but today in the video I'm just going to do 10 and I'll show you kind of what size that turns out to be. So let's go ahead, jump into the materials and let's get started. The materials that you will need is some velvet yarn. I am using, I believe this is some Bernat blanket, velvet blanket yarn or velvet yarn. I'm going to be using this one. You will want a contrasting regular yarn because that will be our waist yarn. You will need a crochet hook. I'm just going to use a 4mm. You will need a hair tie and an Addi knitting machine. You do want to start with your waist yarn and cast onto your machine. If you do not know how to do this, click the link above. I do have a more in-depth video on how to do this part. Once you have your cast on done, do a few rows of waist yarn. I like to do about 6 or 7 rows. You can do a little more if you would like, and then we will switch over to our other yarn. So go ahead, make sure your row counter is cleared and bust out a few rows of waist yarn. Here I am just before my 8th row, so you want to leave a little bit of a tail. Go ahead and cut this yarn. Grab your velvet yarn. I'm using this color right here. And all we do for the color change is throw that yarn right in the middle. We do want to leave a bit of a tail. Put that right in the middle and add it to your yarn winder. Now make sure that you kind of hold your yarn. Oh, and make sure that you change your row counter back to 0. This is where you just kind of want to make sure that your yarn catches on your first stitch. And now we want to crank out 10 rows. 10 rows of this. If you want to have a thicker scrunchie, you can do more, but I like to do a total of 10 rows. And just go slow, make sure that all of your yarn is getting in there, nothing's getting caught, no drop stitches. You don't want to use too thick of a velvet yarn. You definitely want to try to find like a 4-weight velvet because anything too big may mess your machine up. So go ahead and crank out 10 rows and then meet me back here. So I went ahead, I did my 10 rows, I cut my yarn and we're going to put that into the machine. And now we want to get our waist yarn back out and put that in there. And like we did before, kind of hold these, make sure that we're catching this first stitch there. And the rest of them, I like to go really slow on these first rounds. And then you want to do another 7 or 8 rows of your waist yarn. So go ahead and do that. Now I'm done with the waist yarn, so we are going to simply put that in the center and we are going to start cranking our work off of our machine. And it should slide off pretty easy. All right, now let's go over to the flat area. We're going to get our crochet hook and our hair tie now. This is what your work should look like. This is the outside and this is going to be the inside. So we want to turn it to where the insides are facing, or the outs, yeah. To where the inside is facing out. We're going to grab our hair scrunchie, and this is just the little tricky part. It's not super bad. We are going to put this around our little tube here. Let me do this on camera. and you just kind of work that to where it's in the middle. I hope you guys can see that okay. There we go. So now we want to pull our ends, make sure we're not pulling our work, but we want to have 2 ends on each side. Oh, there it is. And these 2 down here. Okay, so this is what it should be looking like. I know it's a little bit confusing, guys, but just work with me, because now what we're going to do is we are going to sew this side and this side closed, and then this is what you'll see on the outside. We will take the waste yarn off after, okay? So now the spots that we're going to be closing, I like to line these up here. We are going to be crocheting together our live stitches. So this one right here and these bumps, so you can see in between where our last row was with the waste yarn. So grab your crochet hook. On the opposite side, we're just going to go into one of these bumps and go directly across into this one right here. Now we're going to pull this bump through this one here. Okay, so now that we just did it on the top, we're going to do it on the bottom. So we're going to find our next little bump, which is going to be this guy right here. So you can see that's the color of our hair scrunchie. Now we're going to pull this through the top loop, like so. Okay, so now we're going to move up to the top. We're going to find our next stitch, which is going to be this one right here. We're going to pull this through here. So we alternate between top and bottom. So pull that through there. Go into the bottom, grab up your next loop, and pull that through. So we're basically just slip stitching these rows together. So up to the top, you see we're working along these ones here, and pull that through. Go to the bottom, pull that one through. Go to the top and pull that through. And as you see, we're kind of closing this off. So you want to continue to do that all the way around. And then meet me back here when you get to the very beginning up here. Here I am getting to the end, and I've got 2 more stitches left. So I've got one right here, and then I've got the very last one right here. So we're going to go into that one. Now what I like to do is grab these guys, and I'll just do a slip stitch with that and pull the working yarn through. At this point, you can actually go ahead and take your waste yarn off. One side is always a little bit trickier, but I do have a tip for that. So just start to unravel this right here. And then you just pull it all the way out. Don't be scared. Just pull that sucker out. Because we just went through and secured all of our stitches. So my trick for the bottom row is I like to go where it started, which is going to be right here, and I know that because the end is coming out. And you can just kind of pull these stitches out all along the bottom. Let's see here. It just makes it go a little bit quicker. Or you can go through and just simply cut this yarn, but I know that, let's see here. It's being a little finicky for me right now. Normally this works. All right, so that doesn't want to work for me, so I'm simply just going to take my scissors and get this bottom yarn off here. So go ahead and do the same, take this off. Now once you have all that off, go ahead and tie a knot with your 2 ends that you still have here and weave these bad boys in. And it's as simple as that. I hope you guys enjoyed today's tutorial. Please make sure to give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below, and subscribe to my channel so you get notified when I release more awesome videos like this. Bye, yarn friends.